I stood in the middle of my nephew's 6th birthday party with blood dripping down my face. My head was throbbing after my father hit me with my grandmother's wooden crutch. My father stared at me with pure hatred, while my sister, Lisa, smiled next to her brand new luxury car, bought with my stolen life savings. They thought they had broken me and left me with nothing on the living room floor. But as I pulled out my phone with a shaking hand to make one single call, their happy party was about to turn into a total nightmare. My name is Amy Miller. For as long as I can remember, I was the quiet, dependable one in our family. I was the daughter who never asked for a single dime, never caused a scene, and always stepped up when someone needed help. I believed that family was a team. I thought that if you loved people, you protected them and you celebrated their success. But looking back, I realize my innocence was just an open door for the people I trusted most to walk right in and destroy everything I had built. I live and work in Chicago. For the past 5 years, I have poured my life into my career as a financial software engineer at a tech firm in the downtown Loop District. It is a world of numbers, logic, and data tracking. In my job, there is no room for emotion or guesswork. You look at the facts, you find the security flaws, and you fix them. I loved the structure of my work because my personal life always felt so unpredictable. Growing up, the family dynamic was always heavily weighted in one direction. My older sister Lisa was the golden child. She was charming, outgoing, and completely irresponsible. Lisa never held a real job for more than a few months. She constantly bounced between failed retail gigs and chasing dreams of becoming a social media influencer. Every single time she maxed out her credit cards or fell behind on her rent, our parents secretly bailed her out. They used their retirement savings to fund her lifestyle, while I was told to be the mature one. I didn't mind it at first. I was focused on my own goals. I built stability through pure grit and discipline. But the problem with being the responsible sibling is that your family starts to look at your hard work as a shared resource. They view your boundaries as selfishness. They look at your bank account and think, Amy has plenty, so why shouldn't we take a piece of it? I always thought my self-reliance was a shield that would keep me safe from family drama. I was completely wrong. My independence didn't protect me. It just made me the perfect target for a coordinated, deep betrayal. Building a life from scratch in a city like Chicago is not easy. For 5 long years, my routine was exactly the same. I was logging 60-hour work weeks at TechForge Solutions, regularly staring at lines of financial code until my eyes blurred late into the evening. While my colleagues headed out for weekend getaways to the lake or expensive happy hours downtown, I stayed disciplined. I stayed at my desk. My lunches were simple peanut butter sandwiches or leftover pasta packed from home to cut every single unnecessary cost. My wardrobe consisted of the same 3 practical blazers and slacks rotated on a strict schedule. Nothing flashy, no vacations, no splurging. Every single dollar I saved had a purpose. Over those 5 years, I successfully amassed $85,000. To anyone else, it might have just been a number on a screen. But to me, that fund was my ticket to freedom. I had spent countless nights in my small apartment sketching user interfaces on graph paper and testing prototype code on my laptop. I was building the blueprint for my own venture, Fintra Pro, a personal finance mobile application that used machine learning to track expenses and predict fraud. I had already scouted a modern office space in the Loop District with exposed brick walls and collaborative pods for a small tech team. The rent projections fit my budget perfectly. I was only months away from launching. My family knew I was doing well, but they never understood the level of exhaustion behind my success. And they would have never gotten their hands on my money if it weren't for an unexpected medical crisis last year. I had to undergo a major knee surgery after a bad tear. The recovery was brutal. For the first 2 weeks, I was heavily medicated, barely able to sit up in bed, let alone manage my monthly rent, utility bills, and complex health insurance paperwork. In a moment of absolute vulnerability, I did what I thought any daughter would do. I gave my parents temporary joint access to my primary checking and savings account so they could log in and pay my bills while I recovered. "Don't worry, honey," my dad had told me back then, patting my hand with a warm smile. "We've got your back. Just focus on healing." I trusted him blindly. Once I was back on my feet and walking again, life got incredibly busy with the app development. I completely forgot to go to the bank and officially remove their names from the joint access. I truly assumed that family loyalty was a sacred two-way street. I never could have imagined that the people who gave me life were quietly watching my balance grow, treating my hard-earned startup capital like a free lottery ticket waiting to be cashed. The betrayal did not happen in secret, behind closed doors. It was delivered like a celebratory performance, designed to humiliate me. It happened during my nephew Liam's 6th birthday party at my parents' house in the suburbs. The living room was packed with relatives, bright balloons, and the chaotic chatter of children. I was standing near the kitchen, holding a cup of coffee, just trying to smile and blend into the background like I always did. Right after Liam blew out his candles, the room grew quiet. My father stood up, cleared his throat, and looked directly at me. The room fell completely silent. "Everyone, I want to make a special announcement," my father said, his voice booming across the room. "We all know how hard Lisa has been struggling lately to find her footing. So, as a family, we decided to take action. Amy, we accessed your joint savings account yesterday. We used 70% of it, exactly $85,000, to completely buy Lisa a brand new luxury SUV parked outside and clear her high-interest debts." The words hit me like a physical punch. My chest went tight, and the coffee cup in my hand began to shake. I pulled up my banking app on my phone under the table. My eyes focused on the numbers. The balance had dropped from $95,000 to just over $10,000. 5 years of grinding, of skipping meals, of exhausting 60-hour weeks, gone, just like that. Lisa lounged in the center armchair, her nails perfectly done, wearing a brand new designer outfit. She swirled her drink, looked at me, and smirked. "Oh, don't look so shocked, Amy," Lisa mocked loudly, making sure the entire room could hear her. "You don't have a single penny left in that account now, do you? You've always been a selfish hoarder, keeping all your success to yourself. Mom and Dad just forced you to share the wealth. Lisa finally has a reliable ride to chase her modeling dreams." A few relatives chuckled nervously. My mother fidgeted with her ring, avoiding my eyes. My father stood there with his chest puffed out, looking proud of his grand theft. The shock in my veins rapidly boiled into pure, unadulterated rage. I stepped forward, my voice trembling but loud. "You did what? That was my startup money. That was for my business. You had no right to touch it. I demand every single dollar transferred back into my account by tomorrow morning, or I am filing a police report for grand larceny." The word police shattered my father's proud expression. His face contorted into pure venom. "How dare you!" he roared, his voice shaking the walls. "How dare you threaten your own family over money? We gave you life. Your sister needed stability, and you're sitting here acting like a greedy monster." Before I could even take a breath to respond, my father snapped. He reached down and grabbed my late grandmother's heavy wooden crutch that was resting against the living room wall. In one swift, violent motion born of absolute rage, he swung it at me. The heavy wood caught the side of my temple with sickening force. The room spun instantly. The violent impact threw me sideways, and my head slammed hard against the sharp wooden edge of a dining chair. I felt a sharp, burning tear near my hairline. The last thing I heard before the world went completely black was the sudden, terrified screaming of the party guests, and the sight of Lisa's smug smirk instantly vanishing into panic. When I finally blinked my eyes open, I was lying flat on the cold hardwood floor of the living room. The party was in absolute chaos. Children were crying, relatives were arguing in hushed, panicked whispers, and my mother was hovering over me with a damp paper towel, her hands shaking uncontrollably. I could feel a warm, thick trickle of blood slowly moving down the side of my face, staining my collar. My head was throbbing with a sharp, blinding pain that made it hard to breathe. My father stood a few feet away, the wooden crutch still tight in his grip. His face was pale, but his eyes were still full of defensive anger. "She made me do it," he muttered to my uncle, trying to justify what he had just done. "She threatened us. She threatened her own blood over a few dollars." Lisa was standing near the window, frantically looking outside, completely terrified that the neighbors might have heard the screaming. The smug, arrogant sister who had just been celebrating her stolen luxury SUV looked incredibly small and weak. My mother tried to press the paper towel against my forehead. "Amy, sweetie, please stay down," she whispered, her voice cracking. "It was just an accident. Your father didn't mean it. Let's just talk about this calmly." I pushed her hands away. I didn't say a word. I didn't cry, and I didn't scream. In that exact moment, something inside my mind shifted completely. The overwhelming sadness and the deep heartbreak of family betrayal froze instantly into a state of absolute ice-cold determination. The fog in my brain cleared. As I slowly sat up and wiped the blood from my brow, I looked at my parents and my sister. I realized a fundamental truth. Blood does not make people family. Respect, loyalty, and safety do. These people were not my protectors. They were predators who viewed my life's work as a personal piggy bank and my physical body as something they could damage to keep me quiet. They truly believed they had won. They thought they had left me with a broken spirit, a bleeding head, and a depleted bank account holding barely $10,000. They had absolutely no clue who they were actually dealing with. I stood up steadily on my own 2 feet, looked my father directly in the eyes, and quietly accepted that my empathy for them was dead. The game was over, and it was time to use my real strength. What my family completely underestimated about me was my professional background. As a cybersecurity and financial software engineer, my entire career is built on predicting security flaws, tracking digital footprints, and setting up defenses against malicious actors. And the truth is, I had already seen this storm coming from a mile away. Weeks before the birthday party, while taking a quick break at my desk at TechForge Solutions, I had spotted a series of highly resentful posts on Lisa's social media. One was a picture of her posing in a luxury boutique captioned, "When your selfish sibling hoards all the success and leaves you scraping by." Another was a video complaining about family members who prioritize their bank accounts over helping loved ones chase their dreams. The comments were flooded with friends fuel-injecting her entitlement, tagging me indirectly. I knew my family's patterns. Lisa was drowning in high-interest debt from her failed influencer lifestyle, and my parents were desperate to bail her out. I knew they still had joint access to my account from my knee surgery. My engineering instincts immediately kicked in. I refused to be a passive victim. That very afternoon, sitting at my computer in the Loop District, I executed a highly strategic defense. I opened my banking app and established a brand new, entirely separate private corporate vault under my startup's name. I secretly transferred my true life savings, $400,000, into that secure encrypted account. Then I did something they never expected. I created a highly sophisticated decoy savings account that mirrored my original credentials. I left exactly $85,000 in that decoy account, plus a little accrued interest, making it look completely untouched to an amateur eye. I even adjusted the phone notifications to ensure that if anyone logged in using the old surgery access, the layout would appear completely identical. It was a loyalty test, a honeypot trap to see if they would actually abuse my trust. They swallowed the bait whole. They stole the $85,000, thinking it was my entire life savings, completely unaware that my real future was locked safely behind multi-factor authentication they couldn't touch. But now, they had escalated their financial greed into a brutal, physical assault. Standing in the hallway away from the shouting, I pulled out my phone with a steady, unyielding hand. My head was throbbing, but my mind was a sharp weapon. I didn't call a relative to complain. I made one single call to my attorney, Sam, and the local police precinct. Over the past few weeks, I had methodically compiled an undeniable digital folder. The bank logs tracking the unauthorized transfer from Lisa's IP address, the synced text chains between my father and Lisa planning the theft, and now the live footage from my parents' own smart home living room camera, which I had remotely backed up to my cloud server, capturing my father swinging the crutch at my head. "Sam," I said, my voice cutting through the phone line like ice. "They broke the vault. Execute the plan." The response from my call was swift, loud, and completely devastating. Exactly 20 minutes later, the happy music at the party was cut short by the aggressive, wailing sound of sirens. Red and blue flashing lights flooded through the living room windows, reflecting off the birthday balloons. Before my parents could even react, two uniformed police officers walked right past the birthday cake and stepped into the living room. My attorney, Sam, had already forwarded the smart home camera footage of the assault directly to the precinct captain. "Which one is Miller?" the lead officer asked, his voice echoing in the sudden silence. I stepped forward, pointing a calm finger at my father. "That is him. He assaulted me with that wooden crutch, and the girl next to the window is his accomplice in a major financial fraud case." My father's face went completely white. His hands began to shake as the reality hit him. "Wait, officer, you don't understand," he yelled, his voice cracking with fear. "This is a family matter. My daughter is lying." But the officers didn't want to hear it. Within seconds, my father was spun around, forced against the wall, and handcuffed right in front of his remaining guests and relatives. He was arrested for felony domestic battery and grand larceny. My mother collapsed onto the couch, sobbing hysterically into her hands, while my uncle stared at the floor in pure shame. Simultaneously, a loud, heavy mechanical sound started buzzing in the driveway outside. Lisa ran to the front door, screaming at the top of her lungs. A flatbed tow truck had pulled up to the house, and the driver was actively hooking up her brand-new luxury SUV. Sam had successfully filed an emergency asset freeze injunction, marking the vehicle as property purchased with stolen corporate funds. "You can't do this to me!" Lisa shrieked, running out onto the pavement in her designer clothes, tears ruining her perfect makeup. "Amy, tell them to stop. This is my car. You are ruining my life." I walked out onto the front porch, completely unmoved by her tears. "You turned my hard work into your gambling capital, Lisa," I said, my voice deadpan and steady. "And when I asked for my money back, Dad tried to break my skull to protect your lifestyle. You ruined your own life the second you decided to steal from me." Because my father had signed fraudulent signature data on the bank withdrawal slips under the false guise of an emergency medical reimbursement, the bank officially flagged the transaction as federal bank fraud. Their financial credibility was permanently destroyed in a matter of minutes. Today, my personal finance application, Fintra Pro, is thriving in downtown Chicago with a massive user base. The standout feature of the app, an advanced fraud alert system that detects unauthorized family bank access, was born directly from the ashes of my own nightmare. I moved into a secure, high-rise downtown condo with a doorman, changed my phone number, and blocked every single relative. They chose greed, entitlement, and violence. I chose an unyielding, peaceful freedom, and closure came without a single ounce of regret.